Hello, everybody. We have made it to part 4 of our 4-part series of Deliverance and Therapy. We have discussed telling your story. We talked about changing your narrative. We got into your behaviors and things like that. And finally, we're jumping into the final part. Be ye set free. Um, I have really enjoyed this series. I have enjoyed discussing different aspects to our freedom. And I love the challenge of putting it into a therapeutic scope where we can kind of see, like, from a kind of sort of like a realistic space, some of the things that we can work on and some of the things that we can do as we are truly trying to get to the person that God has always called us to be. So, the last part here, be set free. So, we have been kind of working through different steps to get us to this final portion of just pure freedom. And I think that in this part of the story, it is really time to hone in on changing our thought patterns and changing the ways that we do things so that we can stay in this free space. I have discussed the Israelites and the things that they went through in terms of getting to that space of being truly free, and how honestly they never got there. And really, they were so set on an old way because they had not shifted their mindset for them to walk into a new way. And so, for some of us, we will never truly be free from a thing if our focus is on holding on to the old way, holding on to what the old thing used to look like, holding on to how the old thing used to feel. I'll never be able to experience the goodness of God, the freedom of God in this new land or in this new space because I'm not even really giving Him an opportunity to show up. So, one thing I really want to say about this part of freedom and deliverance is you got to want it. And I said this before as far as just wanting this more than the old thing, but your mind, your heart, everything has to be on one accord and has to say, I really want this. If you can get everything on one accord, if you can get everything to agree and be unified, it's not much that can stop you because you are literally on the path to freedom and you're on the path to staying free. One thing I have noted before too is our mindset and the way that we think. You can't really just undo a habit in a day. You have wired and conditioned yourself to do a certain thing for so long. So, if you want to start new habits, you have to start trying new things and you have to be disciplined and conditioning yourself into doing the new thing. Eventually, if you do it long enough, your body, your mind, your spirit, everything will start to move in that direction. It takes work. Okay, that's another thing. If you don't want to do no work, then you might as well just stay where you at. This takes work. This takes another level of surrender. This takes another level of, you know what, God, whatever you want from me. Because naturally, I don't believe anything in us naturally just says, I want to do this. Not too often. Not too often naturally do we feel a strong urge to just stop doing the things that make us feel good, or stop doing the things that comfort us, or stop doing the things, especially when it's things that we know, like, this is not serving me and it's not serving me well, and in most cases it's creating more chaos for me than anything else. We have to be okay with being in spaces that are full of peace, that are full of joy, spaces of comfort, spaces where we're genuinely happy and excited. I think some of us love to marry dysfunction. And honestly, we marry it because that's all we've known. Dysfunction is what we wake up with. Dysfunction is what we go to sleep with. Dysfunction has been what we were born into. So why should I believe for anything different? Why should I want anything different? And this takes me back to my curse breakers. How many, if you're a curse breaker, put it down there. Put it in the chat. I'm a curse breaker. If I am a curse breaker, it means that I'm gonna have to face that thing. And I can't avoid it. Because if I'm going to break something, I literally have to have it for me to break. I literally have to come in contact with it in order for me to break. I can't break a vase with my mind. I literally have to show up, pick up the vase, and break it. Like, I think that some of us think, our words. We talked about our words before. We love to say all the good things. We love to say all the things that sound good to us. But at the end of the day, I don't think we really know what we're saying all the time. Do you really know what you're saying? Because people love to say, I'm a generational curse breaker. Do you know what that means, though? Do you know what you have to endure to be that? Do you know the things that you have to go through in order to be that? Do you understand all the things that they didn't break and how it is now lined up to attack you for you to go through and break them? We just be talking. We really do. Because it really does sound real deep and it sound real good and it really sound like we're going to get another mansion in heaven. But we need to be mindful of what we're saying. Because if that is so, that this is who I am, then I need to be undergirded and I need to be equipped to do the thing that I'm called to do. Be ye set free. Freedom is not easy. I wish it was. I wish that we could just wake up and freedom just hit our homes. And again, it may happen in certain areas that suddenly we feel relief, suddenly we feel breakthrough. And I love that for us in the experience that we've had where there has been a suddenly. But for some of us, it is prayer and fasting. And not just the 3 days, but we're talking about months of fasting to break a thing. For some of us, it is literally holding your tongue and not saying what you want to say because you don't want to destroy your witness. For some of us, it is staying grounded and not moving even when the environment around you seems to be making you sick. For some of us, it is sacrificing and giving up the very thing we've always wanted so that we can be obedient to Christ. We're not talking about that stuff. Do I, and we have to go back and say, do I really want the freedom that I am praying for? Because if I'm not willing to sacrifice, if I'm not willing to give up a thing, if I'm not willing to turn down my plate, if I'm not willing to say no to my own behaviors, if I'm not willing to grow in discipline and self-control, then it is possible that I just don't want to be free. And guess what? It's okay if that's your truth, because it's your truth. It's your truth. The fact that you're willing to be honest about the situation might actually open a door for freedom for you. It might actually do that. Your honesty might actually create a pathway that now I can start walking through. Let me tell you. So I had a situation. I've had many situations, and I don't know, maybe we're going to get into this at some point. I don't know. But a lot has been going on for you, girl, in the last, I'll say 6 months. And I feel like I've been hit in all directions. And it came by surprise because I wasn't expecting any of it. And I've been having to journal things. I've been having to pray things I've never prayed before. I've been having to do all the things, okay? But what I realized was I didn't know who I was. I'm going to say that again. I realized I did not know who I was. I'm going to tie this back to deliverance and therapy and all the things. I think what I am learning is one of the greatest tricks of the enemy is to keep us from learning who we are. Because if I don't have a full understanding of who I am, then there's a misinterpretation of the storms I go through, of the attacks I get, and how I perceive the things that are happening around me. Okay, track with me. Because I don't know who I am, I would consider that this thing is happening for one reason when it's really happening because of the call of God on my life. Because I don't know who I am, I would look and say that this is unfair, when in actuality, this is part of preparation. Do you hear what I'm saying? I consider track runners, Olympic track runners, over professional football players. An Olympic track runner trains for 4 years to make it to the Olympics, because they only happen every 4 years, for them to show up and actually show what they've done over 4 years. We get to see if they were training. We get to see if they're getting better. We get to see how strong they are. Over the 4 years, they do all of this training and work for 10-second, 30-second, depending on what race you're running, 1 minute time frame. 4 years for 10 seconds. NFL players, their season comes around every year, and their season is much longer. So the training and the things that they do and how they do it looks much different than that of a track runner. The time that they spend working, the time that they spend resting, the time that the way that they lift weights, the training, the type of training that they do is not that of a track runner. It is that of an NFL player. If I understand my game, if I understand who I'm called to be, if I understand who I am, then I will know that my preparation might be for the Olympics and not the NFL Super Bowl. Because it's two totally different types of preparation, because it's two totally different types of calls on two totally different types of platforms. The Olympics is worldwide. The NFL is pretty much just in America. They're starting to branch out. But we need to understand who we are, who we're called to be, what we're called to do, because it is that will prepare us in our journey of getting there. Maybe I am not fighting for the deliverance that I need because I don't really understand who I am. And I take the approach of, who am I anyway? Why does it matter anyway? I don't have that much of a purpose anyway. We do this to ourselves all the time. We talk like this, we move like that. We don't understand our significance. And if the enemy can keep us blind to our significance in the kingdom, we'll never move. We will continue to allow these things to wrestle with us. We will continue to be stuck in these spaces and these places because we don't know who we are. If I understand that I'm a king, if I understand that I am training to take over an empire, then I might take my training a little bit more serious. Then I might take the things that I'm dealing with, I might put a little bit more intensity into my learning. I might put a little bit more focus into certain things because I understand what I'm training for. There is something that you're called to. And it's really not just one thing. There are many things that you're called to. There are so many things that the Lord is beckoning for you to come into, for you to step into, for you to walk into. And so some of us could have been watching this and been like, oh, okay, that's cool. There are some things I need to work on. But I don't think sometimes the impact of the why hits us until it really hits us. When I finally just woke myself up and was like, you are who God said you are, I kind of got into this place of, but I don't want to be. And how do I get out of it? Now I need some answers. How do we get out of this thing? And so I was kind of at war. Now I've been at war for a while. But finally, I just surrendered. Okay, God, not my will, but your will be done. I don't like this, but I'm surrendering. I don't understand this, but I'm surrendering. I really hate how I feel in this space. I really hate how people are responding to me. I really hate okay, I'm not even finna sugarcoat it. I absolutely hate how life is looking right now. But what am I supposed to do? I can keep running, I can keep doubting, I can keep being upset, or I can finally just yield and say yes and surrender. And so I did. I was like, yes. In my yes, it came with a release of a frustration. It came with a release of anger. It came with a release of even bitterness that was setting itself up due to comparison. Me feeling like it's not fair. I have really been at odds with God because of what I felt has not been fair. It is not fair that I have had to deal with this. It is not fair that I feel like I've shown up this way and have been dealt this hand. It is not fair that I have to build like this and get out the mud like this. I have felt like it is not fair. Why is it that they can have an easier path? Why is it that things can be set up for them in this way? Why couldn't you just do it like that for me? I feel like it is not fair. And I just had to let it go. Let it go. And even now, for many of us, some of us need to just take a moment right now. Close your eyes. Just sit. And just take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to consider breathing in everything God called you to be. And I want you to consider breathing out your frustration, your hurt, your anger, your disappointment, your misunderstanding, breathing out your why. I just want you to breathe it out for a minute and release whatever needs to be released. Release your cry, release your moan, release. That could be writing. Take a moment, because some of us are not free because we are too busy wrestling. We're too busy wrestling with our future selves. We're too busy wrestling with the woman or the man inside of us that's trying to get out, but we keep telling them no, because this is too hard, because I'm tired of another trial. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. What if they hurt me again? What does it look like to have to try to put myself out there again, to try to reconnect again, only to be broken again? Like no. And so the war that many of us are facing is, I've told my story, I've changed my narrative, I've done all the things, but I have not made peace with me, and that is why I'm still not free. After I had this woosah moment, it is almost like instantly I felt a change in my desires. And it almost felt like I finally yielded to who God has been calling me to be, but it was my yield that now made the things that I had been trying to do for years very simple. I mean, even down to like eating and the things that I wanted to eat versus things I no longer wanted to eat, down to habits and health and exercise and things like that. Like, not that I wasn't doing it, but it wasn't consistent and it just felt like a tug of war. And it felt like God was literally molding something in me, because that was the yes and the yield that he needed from me. Please understand, we are not in this fight alone. Your battle may not be my battles. My battles may not be your battles. But I want you to understand that we are fighting together, because there are so many of us who are called to blaze a trail, who are called to create paths, who are called to dig into hard spaces, who are called to pull people out, who are called to be Moseses of our generation, and called to be Deborahs of our generation, and called to be all these people, and we don't even know where to start, and we're literally moving from nothing. We're moving with no blueprint. And day by day, it is like daily manna. God, what do you want today? How do you want this to look today? What do you want me to build today? Day by day by day. And it is not until we yield that we will truly start to see the manifestation of himself in us in ways that we have been waiting for. But we have to make peace with who he's called us to be. And we just have to pick up that cross. And we just have to put on that mantle. And as ugly as it gets, as hurtful as it gets, as lonely as it gets, as painful as it gets, we cannot give up. And one of the things that keeps me going is the fact that I know that it's not just for me. And if I have to do this so that my children don't have to face the things that I faced, then I'll do it again. If I have to do this so that another young girl knows that she's more than what her parents told her she could be, she's more than what abuse told her she could be, then I will do it again. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us. And in fact, it is much bigger than us. And so this is not a walk of selfishness. This is not a walk where we can afford to make it about us. Our face has to consistently be set on Christ. Our path has to consistently be focused on God. Because if not, we're not. I feel like I'm nothing without him. And that's kind of what it got to. Like, I can be fighting him and everything else, but it's like, who am I without you? Because it was you who pulled me out. It was you who was there when no one else was. It was you. Like, it was you who literally saved my life several times. Like, I can't, I really hate being at odds with my creator. I don't like it. And so it's like, I just want to fix this between me and you. Because I have realized that without you, I am nothing. I have nothing. I'm nobody without you. And as hard as it is, I consider how much you must trust me that you would allow me to be one to carry this cross. Do we ever consider that God had to trust Jesus to do what he asked him to do? God had to trust Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. God had to trust Noah. God had to. The fact that you trust me enough to put this burden on me because you believe in me enough to say, I know you're going to get it done in this earth. That really means everything. And so, in moments like this, where the seasons of my life feel so overwhelming, so confusing, and so frustrating, I have to believe that my God is good and that He has good things in store for me, and that this trouble will not last always, and that there is something on the other side of my obedience. And that if I just continue to show up when I don't feel like it, when I don't want to, when I'm hurting, when I need encouragement, that I know He's going to show up for me. And sometimes deliverance comes as we keep walking. Sometimes deliverance shows up as we keep stepping. Yeah, I would like it to be where you delivered me first and then I went. But sometimes He's just like, I'll deliver you as you go. With tears in your eyes and all. I'll deliver you as you go. And it can feel like, but God, I don't want to be put to shame. And I think about the scripture where He was like, I'll never put you to shame. And so for some of us who are afraid because we have really been in some really shameful spaces, like really shameful spaces. Like I've had some really embarrassing moments that have made me afraid to move forward in certain areas, that have made me question myself, question my worth, just question everything about who I am, my identity. And some of my fear has been, well, what if I don't want to experience shame? Like I don't want the negative feedback. Like I don't want people talking bad about me or, lying on my name and all these things. And at the end of the day, none of that really matters. Like what people have to say, it doesn't really matter. It's really that if I can't hear God tell me I'm proud of you, then nothing else really matters. Like it don't matter. I want to make my Father smile. I want to make Him proud. And if that requires me weeping as I walk, if that requires me crawling some days because I feel like I can't walk, literally, y'all, I totally sprained my ankle and it's hurting. Okay, so I've been walking but barely. But if that requires that, it's okay, because I know that the Lord did not bring me all the way out here to leave me stranded. And sometimes we just have to encourage ourselves that there's no way you brought me this far to only bring me this far. And I think about all the things that the Israelites had to give up. And in a way, my heart goes out to them because you didn't even get to experience His promise. And you probably died thinking He had failed you. I don't want to live a life like that, thinking something other than the truth about my God. I don't want to think He failed me because I stopped trusting Him in the middle. I am too far out here at this point that there is no turning back in the middle of the Red Sea. There is no going back. So I have to trust Him to get to the other side. And so many of us might really be in that space. Like, I'm so frustrated. But we're out here way too deep. Like, unless you navigate my way, I wouldn't even be able to get back if I wanted to. We out here now. People say all the time, we're out here now. Like literally, we are out here now. And I took you at your word and I jumped. And I took you at your word and I moved. And I took you at your word and I tried. And I'm afraid. And this isn't what I thought. Like, you really be like, God, come here. Let me tell you something. This ain't what I thought. We be whispering. But you know what? I'm out here. And I absolutely have to believe that you did not shake up the table like this for no reason. Do you understand? Like, you did not shake up the table like this for no reason. Y'all, I'm over here whole crying. I do not be crying on these videos like this. But you know what? I just gotta be real. I just gotta put my truth out there. My heart is that my truth and my honesty does something for you, for real. Because the wars that I have experienced lately have been it has totally shaken me up. And it has put me in a really weird space because I don't even know what to do with this. I've never experienced this before. And so on this journey of really figuring out who I am, and I probably messed up because I really made an announcement that this is who I am, and the devil was like, okay, we finna see. That's probably what really happened. He was like, oh, we finna see. Okay. But we out here now. And so on this last video of this series, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to know that God hasn't forgotten us. I want you to understand that we're not just in the middle of the ocean like ships without sails. I want you to hold on to the promises of God because we out here now. And it's best that we just yield because we're too far to go back. And we've really honestly made too much progress. And we may not necessarily know how to get to the destination. But I absolutely believe if we just keep taking a chance on God, if we keep just trusting God, if we keep just throwing the net out there, throwing the prayers out there, making the requests known, I believe He's going to meet us where we are. And I absolutely believe for a wind that will come upon us to blow us to shore. That when the storms of life seem to overwhelm us and make us doubt everything about who we are and what we're doing, that God simply blows a wind that not only calms the storm, but the wind would blow us to shore. And that we start to really see and experience the promises of God in a way that make us say, God, I see why, and I thank you for making it make sense. I know it don't make sense right now, but it's going to make sense. And we may not get free before it makes sense, but we're going to get free on the way to the promise. We're going to get free as we walk into those spaces that are going to make sense. So that's all I got. I just appreciate you guys for watching, for listening. I hope that this really encourages you. This causes you to want to know your Father even more. And it makes you say, like, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep pressing. I'm gonna keep going. We really got this. It's really gonna be good. It's going to be good. But we gotta endure some things. But one day at a time for some of us. One step at a time. One answer at a time. But don't give up. Do not give up. It is going to be well. And it's going to make sense. And the freedom that you're going to experience is going to be so beautiful that I cannot wait to rejoice with you as you rejoice. I'm excited. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We're gonna do something else in February. I was leaning into relationship stuff, which I don't really be talking about. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I might do something relationally like, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But thank you for joining me for another in session, and I will see you guys again this week probably, because you're probably gonna get two this week, but this week or next week. But yeah, have a good day. Bye.